Welcome back to the Lines at 177, and today we are speaking to the CEO of ANZ, Shayne Elliot. Mr. Elliot, let me ask you in this segment the first question. How do you see the banking industry evolving in today's world of rising digital transformation?
So one thing, I'm a bit of a bank historian, and ANZ's almost 200 years old. And if you think back to when we started, and over that time, we've fundamentally been doing the same thing for all those 200 years. The way we do it has changed by using new technology, but we only really do two things. One thing is we move money for people. You give me an instruction to pay money for your mobile phone or your groceries or your utilities or whatever, or your employees. So that's the first thing we do. We move money for people. The second thing we do is we change your ability to consume goods. So you might want a car today, but you don't have enough money, so you can't consume that car. So we lend you money, so you bring forward consumption. Or you may be looking forward to retirement when you're not going to have any income, so you save your money and you push out your consumption until later. Those are the two things we've done. It has changed how we do it. There was a time when people wrote a check on a piece of paper to give me that instruction, and now they give us those instructions on their phone. And so banks have actually been pretty good at taking new technology and saying, how can we use this to fulfill those two obligations safely and securely? So banks are generally pretty good at commercializing new technology. I mean, if you think about smartphones are only really 15 years old. Banks are one of the first commercial enterprises to figure out how this could be really powerful for our customers. And today, mobile phones are our number one interaction channel. So digital is just the latest technology that we're adopting and have adopted. And now we're looking even further ahead into things like generative AI and thinking about how are we going to use these new tools for the benefit of our customers. And great businesses and great banks will be those that can see the opportunity in that technology and find a way to deliver better services to their customers using the very best tools available.
With this growth in digital transformation, do you think there will come a day that customers will not walk through those doors at your branches?
So it won't be in my lifetime. Who's to say in the longer term? Possibly. I mean, I think let's think about it for a minute. Generally, people don't want to go to the branch. It's not something people wake up in the morning excited about doing it. So they go there because they need to go, and it's generally they need to go because we make them. We make them go to a branch. Our customers come to a branch to do something in particular. They would much rather do it on their own, when they wanted, how they wanted to do it, sitting at home on their phone or whatever the technology. So as we give customers more and more tools to control their money and to do it the way they want in the comfort of their own home or their own business, they're coming into those branches less and less. So look, I don't think branches will disappear anytime soon. There's clearly going to be less. There already is. There is clearly less branches around the world, not just here. And that'll probably continue for a period of time. I don't know that it'll ever go to zero. I think what we do know is that people like to talk to somebody about really important conversations like, I'm buying my first house. I don't know how home loans work. Can you talk to me about it? So I think there'll still be, or I'm starting a business. How do I start a business? How do I grow a business? So I think there will still be an opportunity. People want to have conversations. Some of those will be on the phone, but I think some would prefer to be face-to-face.
Cybersecurity, let's address that. Banks are targeted for that. How is ANZ prepared to tackle this threat of cybersecurity?
Yes, well, so security more importantly. So as I said, we were founded in 1828. We've been in the security business since 1828. If you think about what banks do, we secure your money. So we wake up every morning assuming some bad people are trying to steal your money. And, in the old days, the way they would steal that money was they would rob the bank. People would turn up with guns and they'd take money from the safe. And we had safes and guns and all those things. Then they tried to steal money from hacking into the banks. There is no money in the branches anymore, so they use computer hacking to try to break into the banks to steal digital money. And now increasing, because that's really hard, because banks are really good at that, because that's our lifeblood, security. So we're pretty good at securing banks and stopping all of that entry. Now the criminals are moving on to scams, which is a new evolution to say, I'm not going to steal the money from you. I'm going to convince you to give it to me. So that's a new area. But banks, I can tell you, all banks, not just ANZ, number one thing we really focus on is security.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about all the banks in Fiji then. Mr. Elliot, what distinguishes ANZ from the banks that are in Fiji?
So we've been here a long time. Yeah. So we think we know Fiji better than most. But what really distinguishes us, I think, are two things. One is our technology. We invest considerably more than our peers when it comes to technology. Whether that technology is in things like the very best ATMs or whether it's about the very, very best digital services and the things that you can do on your phone. That's just like part of our DNA at ANZ to always be bringing out the best that we can to service our customers. That's one thing that distinguishes us. The second one is connectivity. We are the most connected bank, without a doubt, in Fiji. So we're in 29 other countries in a very big material way. Not just Australia and New Zealand, but the United States, Japan, Korea, China, India, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, I can go on. So we have businesses there that are really important to Fiji, whether that's trading with those people, investing into those markets or getting investment back. That capability, our knowledge of the region is unsurpassed from any bank that operates here in Fiji.
You speak about connectivity, but do you have 100% trust in the government, Fiji government's connectivity and technology to give ANZ the leeway to do the business? Are you 100% sure that Fiji has enough connectivity and the technology to have ANZ grow its business?
I'm 100% confident that we will work it out. So in any country in the world, no matter how sophisticated, things go wrong, things break. We see that we've seen these major outages in systems around the world, not just in banking, in all sorts of industries, tax, etc. So we know that things break, right? If the job is on us at ANZ, not to rely on the government or somebody else, I'm not talking about Fiji, in any country, is to always have plans around resilience, backups, alternatives, what happens when things will break, So we have a motto of zero trust. We shouldn't trust the system. We should assume it's going to break, and we should have a plan for that. And so, so Fiji is no different than anywhere else, and that's what makes banks. I mean, again, we've been here for 143 years. We've been a bank for 196 years. We've shown an ability to adapt, and through then, a lot has happened. Wars, pandemics, economic crises of all sorts over that period of time. But ANZ has continued to not just survive, actually grow. And that's because at our core, we have a sense of being able to adapt and be prepared for whatever may come.
Fiji has its own bank, recently established the HFC Bank. What will it take for a local bank like HFC to dethrone someone like you?
So there's room in any industry, and particularly in banking, for competition. There are different strategies to take. I don't know the strategy of the bank, but I'm sure they're not trying to beat ANZ. Just like we're not trying to beat them. We've taken our strategy. Our strategy is not to have 100% market share in Fiji. We know what we do well. And we want to do that with those customers that we believe we can service better than anybody else. But there'll be other banks who have different capabilities, who do other things really, really well. That's a good thing. That's what makes a thriving competitive environment. Now, hopefully, they'll see some things we do and they'll say, we want to do that too, and we're going to try and we're going to compete. And that will mean we have to try harder. And we'll see them, and maybe we'll see things they do and say, hey, we want to do that. That's what makes that capitalist sort of system work, that continues to move forward. Because, I'm worried about things they may do, and hopefully they worry about us. So I think it's ultimately a good thing. And it's definitely a good thing for consumers to have choice.
Final question for part two, Mr. Elliot. Then what's your view of a small country like Fiji or even Kiribati or even Tuvalu setting up its own bank? What are the risks involved? Own bank. What are the risks involved in doing that?
So the risks, it's an interesting question, right? So banking, like many industries, is a scale business. And what I mean by that, it helps to be a bit bigger. And it helps to be a bit bigger for two reasons. One is risk. So we're in the business of taking risk. That's what we do. We lend people money, and sometimes we don't get it back. Sometimes the projects or the things we lend to fail. So we have to assess risk. One of the ways to manage risk is to have a diversified portfolio. Different customers, different segments, different geographies. It's much harder to have a diversified portfolio if you're in one country and it's a small country. So I think that is something that the banks who are going, if there are people thinking about that is something to be very, very careful about. The second challenge is also related to scale. The cost of running a bank well is high. Yeah. So the cost of being secure you mentioned cybersecurity before. You could argue the cost of being cyber secure in a small one country or one island nation is going to be really, really high because you have to spread that cost over a relatively small number of people versus to a big bank who can spread the cost of that security over a lot. So it's not impossible for small, narrow banks, one market to survive. There are many, but they have to be really, really clear on your point of difference and how you are going to fight against the enemy of scale.
Mr. Elliot, we'll take a short break and continue the discussion in part 3.